World Track is brought to you by none other than Trappers Anonymous. Listen, Trappers Anonymous is an amazing community. If you want to build confidence in your investing decisions, if you want to be in an environment of people that help you, encourage you, and answer the questions that you need to get you moving forward, I want to tell you, welcome home. Trappers Anonymous is a group that consists of like-minded individuals that are all on the same journey of building wealth one share at a time, and generational wealth is the only thing that makes sense. Welcome home. All right, man, check it, man. Listen, this is the World Track, man. Why do I love the World Track? Because, man, listen, we talked about Reaganomics. We talked about the 80s. We talked about the impact that they had, right? Here's what I want us to understand. I always say this. People like Public Enemy, people like Queen Latifah, people like KRS-One, people like Rakim, they did not run out of raps. They did not run out of raps. But what happens is a different type of rap took place, and it pushed these people out. So what I like to do is on the World Track, man, so many great artists have had to conform to the toxic rap. But what they did was they left gems for us along the way. And so this week, I want to bring to you, highlight none other than one of my favorite artists from the D, Big Sean, man. This was a funk flex freestyle. He said, besides being one of the last investors in Uber, plus my real estate deals, plus my Ember, plus my wheels, if I stop now, all of my business will still moving. 10 million on the crib, so the click can move in. And I'm teaching about assets and how to pay the least amount on taxes. Shout out to Big Sean for that, man. It was a funk flex freestyle. I said, woo! He talking that talking. I'm not gonna lie. Big Sean is so underrated, y'all. But let's just talk about it, right? Besides being one of the last investors in Uber. Why did he say that, yo? He got into Uber before it hit the market. I want you to understand that the stock market that we get into is the secondary market. There's a market before that. So he got in with Beyonce, holding him. He got into Uber in that. So he's talking to us about the importance of getting into it, right, in the first phase. Right? In the first phase. Then he said, plus the real estate deals. Right? So not only am I investing in stocks, which give me ownership, I'm investing in real estate. Let's go a little further, right? He says, even if I stop now, all my businesses still move. So this is the idea of passive income. Like, even if I just stopped back and chilled, like, all my money still making money for me. All my soldiers still going to recruit. I want you to understand that your money and your investments are your soldiers. They go recruit other soldiers. And when they bring those soldiers in, what you're allowed to do at this point in time is buy back your free. He said 10 million on a crib so my whole clique can move in. I mean, listen, when he got some bread he got on, he bought a big enough crib to put his homies in. Not so that they can stay with him, but exposure is key. Because exposure is key. One of the things I did with my family, Memorial Day, I rented a mansion in Orlando. This post went viral. I rented a mansion in Orlando. The first 2 days, I just let them have fun. The third day, while everybody was in the pool, I said, hey, everybody come out of the pool. Everybody dry off. And I was about to learn about investing, financial literacy 101. I taught them about investing. I taught them about setting money goals. I pointed out that what they're doing with their money right now isn't helping them achieve their goals. And everybody left the house doing what? Wanting to invest. But the first thing I did was expose them to an environment that made it easy to learn. Because if I got on a Zoom call and I said, hey, everybody get on a Zoom call, let's talk about money, they wouldn't have did that. That would have been super boring. But because I put them in an environment that was completely different, I put them in a 14-bedroom crib. The crib had a movie theater. The crib had a slide. The crib had a big pool. The crib had a jacuzzi. The kitchens, everything was amazing. The game room, a playroom, everything was amazing. It was fun. Everybody's energy was up. Everybody felt good. Everybody went to sleep and woke up happy. Everybody went to sleep happy. Nobody wanted to go to sleep. So when I said, hey, let's learn about money, they was like, yeah, yo, this is how you get this. This is how you get this. This is what we got to do. And so exposure is so key. So I so understood when he said that. And then he said, teach them about taxes. Yo, listen to me. There's 3 things that you got to learn about building wealth. The first phase is financial creation, wealth creation. That's the idea of going out there creating wealth. The next one is wealth accumulation. That is when you take the wealth that you've created and making it multiply. The third phase is wealth protection. And it's learning how to protect the wealth that you have. And the way that you learn how to protect the wealth that you have, the number one way is through taxes. Watch this, y'all. Tax evasion is a crime. But tax avoidance is what the right CPA teach you how to do. It's learning how to open up a nonprofit organization, 501c3. It's learning how to invest in real estate. It's learning how if you actually invest in agriculture. So now we're going from real estate to agriculture. It's learning how to pay yourself first. It's learning how to start a business and paying yourself as an employee. It's learning how to make a switch. Watch this, y'all, from self-employed to having a corporation. It's learning how when you invest in stocks to hold it for longer than a year. It's learning how to set up trust. It's learning how to have wills. It's learning all of these things. It's learning how not to keep going to H&R Block or TurboTax. It's learning how to get a CPA. This is how you build wealth. It's learning how to set up LLCs as tax shelters. This is how you build wealth. Going to H&R Block is not going to do it for you. Going to TurboTax is not going to do it for you. Once you make the transition, I know somebody will be like, nah, Trap, you tripping. I ain't with that. Listen, I get it. I understand that everybody's in a different economic position. Right? I understand that. But once you transition from how do I get the most back from my taxes? How do I carry my child? How do I carry this? How do I get a dependent? Like once you start scrambling from where do I get this dependent from? Can I buy this dependent? Listen, I know I'm stepping on some toes. Ouch. Ouch. I know I'm stepping on some toes right here. Ouch. Right? Right? How can I get a dependent? Ouch. To, where do I tax shelter? Right? I want to just put y'all in my business right quick, man. This year alone, I've already paid $400,000 in taxes. This year alone. I've already paid that. Here's the dope part. I'm preparing now to start chopping down next year. I'm already starting to chop down next year. Right? I'm already starting to chop down next year. Like, how do we prepare for next year? Let's get ahead of 2023. Because people always ask me, like, people will hit me up sometime and be like, Trap, like, how do I not pay Uncle Sam? I'll be like, Queen, I'm not the person to tell you that. You know why? Because I pay Caesar what Caesar do. My goal is not to try to not pay him. I don't want them problems. I don't need tax audits. I don't need all that going on. Bro, what do you want? Boom, CPA. How do we move some things around? How do we shift some things around? What do we have to buy? What investments do we got to make to decrease the taxes? If we can do that, I'm cool. I don't want to not pay him his money. Trap, how do I not pay Uncle Sam? I'm not the person to tell you that, fam. I don't mind paying them people. Pay Uncle Sam what Uncle Sam do, man. I'm just saying. I'm just keeping it 100% real with y'all. Stop trying to evade. People like, Trap, I bought a stock. I traded. How much you made? I made $200. How do I not pay Uncle Sam? Man, if you don't give Uncle Sam that Stop playing. All right, man, let me get off that. Y'all know sometimes I can dig, you feel me? Sometimes I like dig like a grind, you hear me? Sometimes I chop my bag up. All right, man, listen, man. Wise words from the OG is the segment we about to go on. In this segment, I like to have a talk with y'all, right? Each and every Tuesday, man, we get up here, we have fun. You like it with me for an hour or more. You let me be the authentic version of trap, and I appreciate y'all for that. I don't have to be anybody else. I can show up in my T-shirt. I can show up in my joggers. And I can just be trap. And I want to thank you for that. But I always like to take a time where I could just be big brother. I could be the homie. I could be big cuz. I could be the OG. I could be trap. And so where I'm from, man, when the OGs talk, you just listen. No matter how smart you are, no matter how much game you think you got, you just listen to the OG. Because you know that the OG has been through more in his lifetime or has more experience than you in said field. So sometimes, because you active, because you getting busy, sometimes you just need to chill, listen to the OG. And what I want to say is, in this wise words from the OG, man, I've been in the market for a while. And I'm not saying I'm the best in the game, but I love what I do. I love looking at the stock market each and every day. I pride myself on learning each and every day. I look at everybody in the field, Dave Ramsey, Tony Robbins, everybody in the field who teaching. I listen to them. Powernomics, Farrakhan, I listen to them. And I ask myself, what was the mindset? What did it take? Because sometimes what we do is we let who the message coming from hurt us from receiving the message. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that we can ever make. Is because we don't like who delivering the message, so we disregard it totally. And that's what hurts us. And so what I want to talk about today is financial vulnerability. There is so much to be said about those who dare to build wealth coming from where we come from. Yes, street capitalism was deadly. You put most people in the jungle, they either fear or they survive. During those times, there were moments where you had two sets of people. You had people who chose the streets. You had people who worked multiple jobs. Both were in survival instincts. The illusion was that the people who were working multiple jobs were better than the people in the streets. The illusion was the people in the streets were making more money than the people working multiple jobs. The fact is, both were standing in quicksand, going nowhere fast. I want us to understand that the key to building wealth is completely different than what we've been taught. I want us to understand that a life built off of wages has a cap. A life built off profits have infinite possibilities. I want us to take a step and look back and say, why do I act, why do I respond, and why do I see money the way that I do? I always say that if we ask ourselves a question and then we answer it the first time, that truly isn't the answer. Because the one that comes off the top of the head is the one that's responded to with emotion. But if you answer that question with the second, third, fourth, and fifth response, then and only then can we get to the root of the problem. I want us to ask ourselves a couple questions. Why do I spend money the way that I do? One of the great prophets of my time said, when you broke, you drove, huh? When you paid, you got buku places to go, huh? That is financial trauma. Yet we've all been there. When we're broke, we rubbing two niggas together. We watching what we spend. We telling ourselves, yo, this is not the time to buy that. We're aware of the financial circumstances that we're in. But yet, when we get $1 above, we find ways to spend it. That is financial trauma. I want us to understand the behaviors that we've adapted financially. I want us to understand why we think that wealthy people are greedy. I've always said that you are dead longer than you are alive. And because you are dead longer than you are alive, the goal should be to accumulate as much wealth as you possibly can to put the generation after you, the generation after them, and the generation after them in a perpetual wealth cycle. Generational wealth must be the norm. I want you to understand that. I want you to understand that you must be okay with creating something of your own. Yeah, it's easy to see somebody else popping and want to join what they got going on. It's harder to build yours from the mud. It's harder to build yours from the mud. But what happens is if you never build yours from the mud, you never have nothing that you can call your own. I'm going to say that again so we can understand this. Yes, we can see somebody else popping. And yes, because of notoriety, we can want to be a part of that. Because we want the notoriety. We want to be a part of what's popping. But here's the thing about that. Here's the thing about that. As long as you're a part of someone else's, you're never on your own. You can never compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 10. You can never compare where you are to somebody who's been putting in work in the same arena longer than you. You see them, you congratulate them, but you got to have pride in building your own. You got to get up every day and say, I'm doing this because it's mine. And while the world will tell you, you should be over here, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, it's because the world isn't comfortable with building their own. Because everybody wants to be popping. Everybody wants the notoriety. Everybody wants the fame. But when we look at the longevity, we understand that there's never any traffic when you're in your own lane. I want you to understand that building your own, creating your own, going through the trials and tribulations of having your own foundation. It's how you build generational wealth. I want you to understand that this journey of building wealth isn't for the weak. It gets hard, it gets stressful, and it will require you to make sacrifices. It will require you to get outside of your comfort zone. It will require that. Living in a generation, living in an era where views and likes is what champions people. Living in an era where having everybody applaud you and tell you how great you are is what champions people. Everybody wants to take the shortcut. You got to be cool with being in your own world. You got to be cool with understanding something I talked about in the beginning. And that was being able to say, this is mine. Being able to say, this is what I'm building. Being able to say, my family will eat off this. Being able to say, I am constructing something that not only myself, but those who come from behind me can live in. The only way you can do that is if you're willing to bet on yourself. The only way you can do that is if you're willing to go against the odds. The only way you can do that is if you're willing to stand alone. So I tell you, have the financial fortitude to do what's necessary to get that end result. Do it hard, do it right, and do it consistently. It's your boy, the Wall Street Trapper, man. I'll see y'all next week, man. I'm out.